Hi, everyone. I'm David from Wisdom Square. Today, I have with me Ryan White. He's from Social Revelation Marketing, and he's basically the Instagram star that's helping other entrepreneurs grow their Instagram accounts organically with real people to get real engagement, unlike a lot of others that are using, fake methods with, robot accounts that's not really going to help you. Recently, he was interviewed on Entrepreneur on Fire podcast, where he shares a lot of his tips and his structure of like how he posts, so you could gain a lot out of that. And also, he was recently interviewed by Good Morning LA. So I just want to say thank you again, Ryan, for coming on with me today.
Yeah, brother, I appreciate you for having me for sure. I'm stoked to kind of get this started and bring some value to these listeners.
Excellent. So, today the whole purpose is, I basically help other entrepreneurs that are short on time just get the most out of their eating, anything that they want out of health, whether it's to lose weight, gain energy. So I think it's going to be really valuable for others that are similar to get to hear what you're doing. And then at the end, kind of hear like some of my recommendations that I make that I'm sure, would be able to help everybody.
For sure. That sounds awesome.
So just to get a little more in about you, could you tell everyone like where you kind of grew up and like where you're living now? It'll help us understand like the access to food that you have.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually was born and raised in a small town called Lakeland, Georgia. It's southeastern Georgia, about an hour above the Florida state line. It's a small town of about 3,300 people. And, I graduated, obviously, from high school there. And then, I kind of moved into college in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I actually attended Carson Newman University in Jefferson City, Tennessee. And I was there until 2013 before I moved back to Warner Robins, Georgia for a little small stint there. And then here, actually last June of 2018, I recently moved to Buckhead, Atlanta, which is where I'm currently residing.
Okay, awesome. And so mostly from down south. And I think if I heard you mention in one of your videos on YouTube, you actually used to do play baseball and even coach kids with baseball, right?
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
Yep. So as a fellow athlete, I actually used to wrestle. So that's kind of what started me down this path of, eating better.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's good stuff.
So yeah, it's always a pleasure to meet another athlete. So I guess we could just kind of go through now, like your eating habits, just to go through like, when you were a kid, then we'll touch upon like when you were adult working, the typical 9-to-5 job, and then how that changed now that you're a business owner.
Perfect. Yeah, for sure. So, and this will probably be pretty insightful for a lot of people. And I don't think I've ever actually been asked this question, so it's actually going to be good for me to reflect on myself, to kind of go through and really see where I need improvement, because I know I definitely need improvement on my eating habits. But, growing up, I was always, kind of an undersized kid. I think now, as an adult, I'm about 5'11", 180 pounds. But growing up, I believe I graduated high school at like 145 pounds. So you can probably see very quickly how, I didn't, my whole nutrition base as a kid, my mother told me was pretty much, dude, I ate cereal all the time. It's funny because she said she could never actually get me to eat like a ton of meat or vegetables or anything of that sort. Kind of my go-to apparently was a bowl of cereal, and all of my relatives say the same thing. That's what they remember about me, which is probably, again, why I was so small growing up and never turned into, obviously, someone who was a 200-pounder in high school. But I think for me, I was just so adventurous and so like outgoing and wanting to be outside and play sports and that sort of thing. It was just always, I never really saw food as like fuel for the machine, obviously, to go out and be, the well-oiled machine that you need to be in terms of producing energy and that sort of stuff. I was more focused on, hey, I got to get something down so I'm not hungry so that I can move on to my next thing, whatever activity that may be. Naturally, as I moved and graduated high school and got into the college baseball atmosphere very quickly, our coach was like, hey, you need to obviously be eating a lot more protein, putting a lot more calories in your body, because we have to move you from this 145-pound frame to, about 165 to 175 pound frame when I was during my playing career. And so, you hear about the freshman 15, as you, in terms of, weight that you would gain as you become, a college athlete or a college freshman on campus just through eating cafeteria food. And that most definitely did happen for me. I noticed I was eating a lot more because, again, your body just, as it's growing and as it's putting out a lot of energy every single day through going through a college workout plan, naturally your body is going to tell you, hey, we need more energy here. So therefore I was hungry more, and therefore I would eat more, as a college kid in the cafeteria. And so, I started, I would say I was eating more, but I don't know that I was self-conscious about, exactly clean eating. Probably, from 18 to 22 years old, our metabolism is so high and you're working out so much being an athlete. I don't think we ever really notice our body kind of getting too much fat on us. So I don't think I was as conscious as I am entering my late 20s. And so as I kind of moved into, now I'm done playing and now I'm kind of into my normal 9-to-5 job, I was, again, a private baseball instructor. So once I got done playing, I moved back to Warner Robins, Georgia, and started training, 40 to 50 kids a week and being a travel baseball coach for 5-star National there. And so, again, as you're training these kids Monday through Friday from, 3 to 8 o'clock at night, and, it's literally, you're getting these kids coming in one after the other for a half hour to an hour at a time. It's very fast paced. And so kind of my eating habits, again, have probably never been perfect by someone who's a nutritionist, but, I would basically have to eat a huge lunch meal, sometime between 12 to 1 o'clock, trying to prep myself because I knew I wouldn't be able to eat again until I got done instructing around, sometimes it's as late as 8, 9 o'clock at night. And that's just the way that it was. And so, I would eat a huge lunch menu. I'll throw in right here that I've never really been a big breakfast guy. I know it's the most important meal of the day, so I know I'm going to get some great tips from you for sure. But usually, when I wake up, I would always try to just throw down like a protein shake or something of like a meal replacement from, like, say, a cent to six that you can find on Amazon or something like that. And I'm sure, again, nutritionists would go, hey, listen, there's a better alternative than a cent to six. But, again, we're talking about me and kind of what I did. So I would wake up, have a cent to six shake. I would even go eat lunch, with our partners who, again, weren't that health conscious. So we would eat literally at places like Old Times Buffet, which I know sounds crazy to the health advocates, but, that's what I did. And then, from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock, I would literally turn out about 10 kids per night, Monday through Friday, to where I'm throwing baseballs, if I'm giving a hitting lesson and I'm catching and throwing back baseballs, if I'm giving a pitching lesson. And so I was very, very active. And so therefore I got away with a lot more than I think someone who's sitting behind a desk, for 8 hours a day would do, because I was burning so many calories each and every day. Again, I was an athlete. So of course after I had my protein shake, I was going to the gym, and I was probably knocking down a post-workout steak as well before my big lunch meal, before I would kind of have my 3 to 8 o'clock sessions. And then again, when I would come home, this is kind of when it gets even tougher because, as you go home and, again, I was single at the time. I'm a bachelor. Of course, I'm not going home to cook. So I'm probably hitting Zaxby's, just to be honest with you, on the way home right before I go to bed at 8, 9 o'clock. And so, again, if you look at me, by no stretch do I feel like I'm overweight or obese or anything of that nature. I think a huge part of it was, again, I was in my 20s. At this time, I was probably 23 to kind of 27. I'm working out every day. I'm being so active in my training sessions, on my feet, burning calories. I think I was kind of able to get away from being overweight. But at the same time, I could definitely tell as far as like my inside, I just didn't feel as good as I know that I could have been feeling. And so kind of moving into the business owner side of things now, since I launched this, and kind of got in at full-time January 2018. This is actually our first full fiscal year, which is why it's so crazy to see the results we've had. But it's even harder, honestly, because I stay so busy. We manage a little over 550 clients around the world. We have 9 partner agencies. So you can just imagine how, bombarded my call schedule, my text messages, my social media direct messages are every single day. And so I'll be honest with you, I wake up now and I have a cup of coffee as the first thing that I do. I always read my morning scripture before I start my workday. So I have coffee. I may have a power bar if I'm absolutely struggling. But again, I've just never been a huge breakfast guy. and then I'll start my work day. And typically I will work, honestly, before I eat anything, before my body tells me that it's time to eat. It's probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And again, I know that sounds terrible. That's probably why I'm going to be a huge testimony, because I don't think I ever slow down in the morning and around lunchtime to actually go, hey, I need to eat. To me, it's all about, well, I only have so many hours in a day, and I have a ton on my list that I have to go through. And I think I just push it away, and now my body's kind of adapted to this. I don't even get hungry until 2 to 3 o'clock. And so I'll put in maybe 20 minutes to where I'll, order some Uber Eats, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, again, I don't cook for myself.
Yep.
So I may go on Uber Eats and have someone deliver something to the door. And, something that's very convenient. Again, with as much as I have going on, as much as moving pieces as there are, I have to have something that's convenient. And so, I may throw down like a Power Bar or Uber Eats, or, we do Bite Meals a lot, because Bite Meals actually partners with us in exchange for, post promotions on our social media. So we've worked with Daily Harvest as well as another one. So Bite Meals and Daily Harvest are two of the big ones I know out there who actually will send meals to our house.
Okay.
And, that's as quick as pulling it out of the freezer or refrigerator and throwing it in the microwave for a couple minutes. And then I'll kind of have my lunch that way. And then as far as that, I go back to work. And then usually when my fiance gets off around 5 o'clock, we'll kind of both get ready and we'll go actually work out again. For our workout session around 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and then we probably sit down and decide what we want to do in terms of dinner around 8 o'clock at night. And that could be anything from going, again, out to eat. It could be, if we've actually taken the time to go to the grocery store on the weekend. Sometimes, she'll prepare meals for us here at the house. Or again, I would say, in terms of, just being financially successful, and then the convenience factor, we do go out to eat here in Buckhead, Atlanta, because there's a ton of 5-star restaurants here. So I would say, we probably go out at least 2 to 3 times a week, if not more, just because, again, we're new to the area. We like the experience. It's good for us to get out and, spend quality time with one another while enjoying good food. So that's honestly, brother, kind of, my schedule. I do have a trainer who trains me for the United Kingdom, so remotely, and he did create me kind of like a layout as far as the nutrition plan goes for me to kind of gain weight, because, of course, what male doesn't want to stack on mass? So I told him, I'm like, hey, I would love to put on 10 to 12 pounds of muscle. And he's like, all right, well, here's your meal plan. This is what you need to do. And let me be honest with you, I've told him as well, hey, man, with my schedule, with the craziness, with the busyness, there is absolutely no way that I have basically, kind of been strict with my diet. And I know that my body and that my aesthetics could be better. It's just, in all the craziness, I think as I get a little bit older, I'll start putting more emphasis on my health versus just being, so busy. And I think now that I'll be 29 on my next birthday next June, so it's probably, I'm starting to kind of get a little bit more health conscious. But, again, man, it's just tough when you're a business owner. People don't realize. Definitely. I could definitely relate to a lot of the stuff you said. And I'm actually 29 right now, so we're very close in age. So I could see, definitely some things I think that you're doing right, and some things that, could be improved, of course. But before I even get into that, just to kind of go through everything, do you have any favorite foods that, you just never will want to give up? Dude, I'm a steak and potatoes guy. Yeah. You told me if I had to give up steak, it would be a huge problem. I would probably just be in very type A. I would say ain't no shot, and I would turn around and say, I'm going to die being happy eating my steak. Everybody has something. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I'm a huge steak and potatoes guy. That's probably my one thing. It would be, again, I love meat. I love protein. So it would be really tough for me I played with the idea of actually going vegan for 6 weeks just to see what it would do to my body, to go plant-based just to see what would happen. Yeah. Why not? And my fiance was like, who are you kidding? There's no shot you go 6 weeks without eating meat. So. Oh, she challenged you. So, yeah, we had that. And in all honesty, she's probably right. I don't know who I'm kidding, because anytime we go to a restaurant, unless I had steak the night before, odds are I'm ordering a steak. So. Gotcha. So no more than 2 days without meat, even a day. Okay. All right. And then the other thing I just wanted to get was
So now that, we went over your health foods and what you're kind of doing currently, and I know you mentioned you have somebody that's helping you to gain weight, a trainer remotely. I definitely don't want to step on his toes.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
But so just like, what do you think you want to get? I know you mentioned you want to gain between 10 to 12 pounds, but in terms of health, especially now that it's so important, this is kind of your first complete year that you're less active, you're working full time, on your business. Like, what do you think you want, like, going forward? You want to see, like, just, I know you do coffee, so is maybe something like better energy or better sleep, better focus, muscles, like anything that, besides what you kind of mentioned, that you think you want to, like, kind of as a goal you want to set for yourself?
Yeah, I think, of course, we all want to cut down, obviously, on our body fat percentage, because as we all look in the mirror, we all critique ourselves a lot more than the outside world most of the time. Yeah. So, there's obviously, we all have problem areas. I just remember being a 21-year-old kid, running around eating what I wanted to eat. And because I was doing so much throwing baseballs in terms of high activity, I was always the kid who always had a six pack. You know what I mean? It was just, I could eat whatever I want, do whatever I want, and I always had a six pack. And now as I'm nearing 30 years old,
yeah. Not
saying that I have a gut by any stretch, but I don't have the same cut up abs that I did at 21 for sure. And obviously, there's a natural process that plays into this, but you do see the 30 and the 40-year-olds who are cut up because their diet is on point. And so for me, maybe losing a little bit of body fat and just having more energy throughout my day is key to running a business. Obviously, we all want better focus, better clarity as we go throughout our day. Especially me, I would say more so than other people. I kind of am I put a very high importance on being able to go throughout my day and just feeling like I'm on top of things. You know what I mean? Like I'm clear in my mind. So if someone ever approaches me or has an issue, I just always like to be able to be level-headed, clear-minded, and be able to deliver them a solid some advice if that's what they're coming to me for, or a solution if that's what they're coming to me for. And so I'll be honest, I don't do a whole lot of drinking. I don't do a whole lot of recreational drug use. Again, I out in California last week again for the interview, stayed away obviously from the whole marijuana thing, although it's legal. To me, that's I don't put any of that stuff really in my body, just because again, I like to be kind of focused. So anything as far as nutrition, anything that could help, even heighten that a little bit, I would be all for sure. So.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I definitely could hear a lot of things you're saying. So many people say that the same things they want over and over. And then now you kind of touched on it too, but just like what you're most and least happy about. I know you kind of mentioned a few things just through talking now, but we could start with like, what do you think like you're the most happy that you're doing? Like, you think you're really nailing it in terms of like, improving your health, clearly abstaining from drinking and recreational drugs to keep your mind sharp is definitely one thing. And then after that, like, what do you think you're the least happy about currently that you think you should be trying to find another solution for?
I think for me, it's just, really, really cutting back on snacking. I know I could do better about snacking. I know that's a big one throughout the day. And as people say, if you're eating better, your tendency to snack go away. And so usually if you find yourself snacking, it's a diet issue is what I've been told. And I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think for me, I need to get to a place as far as time management goes, which I know we all struggle with, but because I am so type A, because I am so kind of by the book and a list maker, and I tend to be a bit OCD when it comes to certain things of my life. Like, I like things to kind of go a certain way, and I want to be successful not in just my business, but also in my health and relationships and, in all areas of my life. And so kind of holding myself to a higher standard, I know there's more I could be doing on the health and nutrition side of things. And so I kind of feel bad about, although my business seems to be thriving, I'm falling short in terms of health and fitness. And, as the saying goes, health is wealth. So I know subconsciously I need to be doing more when it comes to eating better and eating cleaner. That's kind of where I need to focus.
Okay, that sounds great. I think I got a lot of information from you. I really appreciate you sharing that. Just to kind of go back and touch on some things, I think we'll go breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In terms of your breakfast, I don't think you're so far. I know a lot of people mention that concept that skipping breakfast is completely horrible, and everybody needs breakfast. It's like the most important meal of the day. And you also see people like Tim Ferriss even that wrote The 4-Hour Body, and in that he mentions eating protein early in the morning, because then that helps pretty much you to stop your craving, so then you're not snacking for the rest of the day. So that's kind of the method that he found, and a lot of other people, it works for them. The one thing I will say is I think a lot of even nutritionalists and experts, get in trouble when they try to blanket, one-size-fits-all solutions for everybody across the board. So, I mean, for example, what I found, works for myself is having a very light breakfast. So by light, mostly liquid-based. So kind of similar to how you would drink like your protein shake. The only difference is I'll try to find something that's more natural, that's like not been processed at all. So, and also, I want to also kind of just touch upon not even like the specific, this superfood or that superfood, or, like the tips and tricks and techniques. I think it's always important to kind of like take a step back first and look at the kind of big picture, like the foundation that's going to help, help us make better informed decisions of, when we're in different situations, whether it's at a restaurant or in the grocery store. So, the kind of, based on like, I do a lot of reading and research, and like how I've come to understand things, and, done it on my own and with other people, is basically, I call this the Craving Match Technique, right? So you basically want to match what you're craving to the food. So, one example is, that you're snacking throughout the day. So even though you might be eating food, your body is still craving something. That's why you're hungry, right? So to look at it, there's like different kind of categories. So like when you're craving something, typically like that nutrient, it's that nutrient that you're craving that's making you hungry. It's not really that like your stomach is empty necessarily, and because it's empty, the goal is to just fill it up with, anything. And as long as you fill it up, then you're going to be good. Like I know you said when you were younger, you would think, in terms of that, you just had to eat to not be hungry. Right? Exactly. Yep. But to be able to eat, to really like feed our machine, because our body is basically like a machine, those nutrients, I think like the most important thing, it comes down to like the minerals. So the minerals, for example, every body part has a mineral that it's associated with. So if you want stronger bones and even stronger muscles, you want calcium. That's like a real common one a lot of people know. But there's also like 5 other major categories that people don't kind of hear about as often. And, that's, for example, if you want better energy and to help clean out your blood, have a healthy heart, the best thing you could give is iron, foods that are high in iron. If you want really good mental clarity and focus, void of distractions, copper is actually really good for the mind for that purpose. If you want to like kind of balance your emotions, and if you're in stressful situations and you want like less anxiety, a little bit more mental clarity in that regard, iodine is actually the most important mineral, and that's for your thyroid gland that controls your hormone system throughout the whole body. Yep. And, there's a few others, but just because those were the ones you kind of talked about that you mentioned, quickly, like when you say the word iodine, just imagine the ocean. So a lot of if you ever go to get sushi at a restaurant and then they give you the option of a green salad or a seaweed salad, personally, I always go for that seaweed salad, because I know I'm giving myself some iodine that's going to give me the function of, being more relaxed and, calm, the next day or two. Right. So that's one quick tip. In terms of copper, for just that focus and that mental, sharpness and alertness, mushrooms, and also like ferns, like capers is like one example, but like a fern would be sometimes when you get into like supplements, and if you want to look for like a supplement for the mind, I only kind of recommend to my clients natural products, nothing that's really proprietary. And that's like the very minimal, least processed. But one example for that would be there's something called a tincture, which I'm not sure if you ever heard that word before.
Yeah, no, I actually have not.
Okay. So a tincture is similar to a tea, if you want to give like a metaphor. So a tincture is probably like the best way to get the nutrition out of a source of food. So just like how you would take a certain herb and, you would identify, that herb is good for, this or that. You would take that and you boil it in water, and then you would drink that water. In the same way that if you make soup, you're just putting vegetables in the water, boiling it, and then that's your soup broth. So it's like a vegetable tea, basically. The only difference with a tincture is instead of water, you're using either alcohol or vegetable glycerin, which I actually like a lot better because it doesn't burn like alcohol, and people that don't like alcohol, So yeah, and the vegetable glycerin is different than the water because water is pretty much only able to extract out of it the minerals from a source of food, but there's more than that. It's all like the essential oils, the healthy fats, and a bunch of phytonutrients that we don't even identify, we can't even name, that's like unique and special to every, source of food. So a tincture is able to get all of those essential oils out of that food, pretty much like the best and most amount of like nutrients you could get from that source of food. And all that looks like is basically a little glass bottle with an eyedropper, and you just put like one eyedropper fill like underneath your tongue. And that's kind of important because under your tongue actually has the most amount of capillaries. So anything absorbed through under your tongue goes right into your bloodstream. So then you feed your body instantly, and it doesn't have to go through your stomach. So let's say, for example, you had junk food, and maybe you could tell me this too as an example. If you ever ate a lot of junk food, and maybe, you were used to that, but then all of a sudden you try to eat clean for a little bit. So maybe you stop eating like this one particular thing, and then you go back to eating it, and then all of a sudden it makes you feel sick, like unexpectedly. Like before you had no trouble eating it, but then now all of a sudden eating that same food is like causing this like knee-jerking reaction that you didn't have.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've definitely experienced that before, and for me, it was pizza. Dude, when I was instructing, I know that sounds crazy, but when I was instructing, it was very common, that we would naturally order delivery. Papa John's, to be specific, all the time. I'll be honest, I feel like I should be a spokesperson for Papa John's with as much pizza as we ordered. And once I moved to Atlanta, well, really more so got with my fiance. Pizza's her favorite food as well, but we understand how terrible bread is for you in terms of from a nutritionist standpoint and kind of staying lean. And so naturally we kind of cut out the pizza, and it was crazy because I couldn't even remember the last time I had a delivery pizza, and we ordered Papa John's for the first time, literally, I think it's one time last week. We were like, why not? We ain't had it in what seems like 6 months. And I just remember that night, I think I actually woke up with a stomach ache, and we were both, because my fiance had it as well, and we were like 100% this is from the pizza.
Yeah. It probably felt like you were food poisoned, but you weren't.
Right, exactly.
Yep. So that experience, very few people can actually explain why that happens, but just based on like how I've come to understand things, I think what science kind of tells us is that when you're eating something that's bad for you, for example, and it's so funny because it's athletes, right, that's eating the pizza, but you would think like athletes have to eat the super healthy food, but like you normally don't see that, surprisingly. But like what happens is your body is like really smart. So because it's so smart, it has its own defense mechanism. So it's literally protecting itself from whenever you're commonly eating something unhealthy. So with that, of course, like it's the mozzarella cheese. That's probably all the grease, the processed oils, because they're not natural oils. They're like hydrogenated, so it changes the structure. The body can't even absorb it. It just has to get rid of this waste as fast as possible. So what the body does, it actually, inside the small intestine, that's like where the majority of the food is getting absorbed in the body, it creates a layer of mucus around the walls of your small intestine. And that mucus is what's shielding your body from absorbing any of that cheese or hydrogenated oils. So the thing is, like, it's good because it's protecting you and it's helping you get that food in and out without absorbing it and getting sick from it. Of course, the downside of that is, say every day you're eating pizza, and then one day in the middle of the week you decide to eat something healthy, your body's not going to be able to absorb the majority of that healthy food because it's still protecting itself. It's going to take your body between 1 to 2 weeks before it begins to let down its defenses, shed that kind of layer of mucus. So that's why it's so, when you do something, it's good to do it consistently. And that's really, honestly, that's the reason why we get so sick when we go back eating that food, because now our defense mechanism is down, and now we can actually absorb everything from that food, and then that's what happens to us.
It actually makes perfect sense, yeah, when you lay it out like that. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you were able to understand it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's kind of one of the reasons why, if I ever do say a supplement or something that's, beyond just chewing on something, I would only recommend a tincture, just because it's in that liquid form, and because it goes under your tongue right into your bloodstream, it gets to bypass your digestive system. It gets to bypass your stomach. So, it's really nice for people that are just starting out, if they just want to see a instant kind of boost, oh, this is the potential. This is what it could feel like if I was, really living this. And I've seen that serve as a catalyst for a lot of people to want to, go to the gym and start changing other little habits and, be more consistent when they could see that kind of before and after picture.
For sure. Yeah. You'll, after this segment, you'll have to shoot me a text with this, and I'll have to go check that out for sure.
I got you. Yeah, definitely. And the name for for the one high in copper specifically, the best fern I found is called Kalawala, which has got a fun name to it.
Oh yeah.
And it's super, almost nobody even knows about it, but it grows in the Honduran Amazon jungle there. So yeah, I'll definitely send you it after. And then in terms for iron and energy, everyone goes to coffee. I think I saw a statistic, something like 65+% of Americans drink coffee every day. So, and
I believe it.
Yeah, just talking to my friends, almost, everyone I know is drinking coffee. So I think one thing that replaces that, because of course your body needs it to be able to perform better, especially in the morning. So there's kind of two ways of looking at it, right? So iron is definitely one way, and I'll get into that. But the more simple way is a lot of the time when we wake up, we confuse we need energy, we need coffee for we're thirsty and we're just dehydrated. So a lot of people, they'll go to bed and, maybe they had a meal late at night. So it's more difficult to sleep when you're digesting food. That's why most people recommend, when the sun sets, you shouldn't really eat food, too late. Otherwise, your body, it's hard. It can't really multitask that well. So then when you wake up, then you're even more dehydrated from that meal the night before. And the thing is, there's actually, videos on YouTube that, everyone could look up, and you could see people studying the blood. So somebody that's dehydrated, just from, not drinking water in the morning, blood is supposed to be moving. All the blood cells are supposed to move, very rapidly. And you get that also when you exercise and when you stretch, everything should be flowing and moving, nothing. We never want anything stagnant. So what happens is without drinking water, your blood is actually at a dead stop. It's not even moving. It's crawling, you know what I mean? So
exactly.
I think that's a really powerful testament to how important, just drinking liquids in the morning is. So, and then just from doing that, it could either postpone your hunger, or postpone that oh, I need something to give me energy, just by drinking simply water. But at the same time, what I recommend is not just water, because again, it goes back to what our body is craving. And really it's these minerals that are in our food and in our drinks. So when you drink water that's, filtered out of the bottle, there's not really too many minerals in it because they had to filter it. So it's kind of like drinking almost empty water at that point. So instead, what I recommend people do is just take some either lemon or lime. My favorite is key lime, just because it's smaller, it has seeds in it, and we should always eat food that has seeds in it. So just squeeze like just a couple of those into a cup of water, and you'll notice, like, not only does it taste like something, it tastes better, but also like you kind of want it more. Like your body will be more excited, and I think that's a real important thing. Like if we don't want to do something, like we should be always listening to what our body is telling us, because again, everybody is different and unique. But if our body wants to do something, we're much more likely to do that every day. If we have to force ourselves to do something just because somebody else told us to do it, we're much more likely to skip it and I'll do it tomorrow.
Right. No, I understand that completely. Yeah.
So something as simple as just like water with some lemon or lime, some citrus in the morning. It's really good to just jumpstart the body, really just get the blood moving again. If you don't have a morning exercise or stretch or something, that's a great, thing you could do. And it's a lot quicker than going out for a walk for 30 minutes. Just drink some water with lemon.
Right, exactly. Let me ask you,
yeah.
What's your thoughts on alkaline water with minerals and electrolytes in it?
So that gets, I have opinions on that. So from what I researched, if you just buy, say, like you go to Whole Foods and you get a bottle of alkaline water, and it promotes a 9.5, alkaline, number. So that water is, alkalinity comes from having minerals in the food or in the drink. So minerals are electrical, and that's what makes the pH go up. The trouble is that water is not alkaline because it has a lot of minerals like it would in nature without being processed. Instead, that water is the same filtered bottled water pretty much, except the only thing they do is they pass it through a machine that ionizes it. And it is basically shooting electricity through the water. So what people call it is it tricks the water into having a higher pH. So your body drinks it, and it actually is good because, for one thing, it's good if you want to detox, because then now it's kind of, it's still empty, like it doesn't have minerals in it, and because of that, it's like a sponge and a magnet at the same time. So when you're drinking it, if you have toxins in your body, it's going to pull that and help you, urinate it out. But at a certain point, if you keep drinking it, it's going to begin to deplete the, basic minerals that your body requires to function. So too much of alkaline water if you drink it every day for a month, I would say, then it becomes, not that good for you. But yeah, so that's my opinion on that. I think like really the best water would just be, nature from a spring, because, water, comes down from the clouds. It goes over, mountains normally, it picks up all these minerals from touching, rocks and the soil. So it's like mineral rich in nature. But of course, because we have so much pollution everywhere, you have to filter it first. And then, that's when you get into the trouble. So, nowadays we really only have access to like filtered water, whether it's you buy a filter for your sink in the house or you get it out of a bottle. Of course, there's some danger of like just plastic bottles, because if it like melts kind of into the water if you leave it out into the sun. So like if you just have filtered water, that's why I say like just put some like lemon or limes in it, because then now you're putting back into it the minerals that used to be there, but they're not there anymore.
Gotcha.
Yep. And then the other side of that is the iron. So foods that are high in iron, the best foods that are high in iron typically are root vegetables, so vegetables that are growing in the ground. And if you think about it, that's the closest source. Minerals have to come from the soil. If they're not in the soil, then you're not going to get it magically out of the food. So all the minerals that are in the soil goes into the roots, so it's basically concentrated in the roots. That's why like those are typically the highest in iron. So for example, the one that's the highest in iron happens to be sarsaparilla root, which is where root beer actually gets the flavor from. They copied it from that root, sarsaparilla root. So, just making a tea out of something like that actually tastes a little bit, a little sweet like that. Yeah, yep. And the thing I like to always like talk equally about herbs, just because no one else is really talking about them. But the main reason that, like I said, we're craving food not to just fill our stomachs, but because we're missing certain minerals. And to be honest, a lot of people recommend getting supplements, and they're not too far off, just because the reason you can't really get all these minerals just going to the grocery store, or even most restaurants. And that simple reason is because all the food is grown on a farm. So when you have food grown on the farm, like if you look into it, the farmers end up only putting back 3 minerals into the soil, which is like the bare minimum just to get things to grow, to have big yields. And that's NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. But the trouble is, minerals are really actually the elements on the periodic table. There's no difference. You think of like iron and copper, and so those elements, there's 90 that are naturally occurring elements, but then in the soil there's only 3. So then those plants can't magically create the other 87 minerals on its own.
Right.
So that's why like you hear everybody talking about organic this, and it's really important, but also what's missing from the conversation is food that comes from nature. So like wildcrafted is the key word. And a lot of these herbs, they're not really grown on farms, the majority of which are wildcrafted from nature. So now you're getting food that was grown in mineral-rich soil, and that's why like people won't believe it, but like a little eye drop under the tongue, and then your hunger goes away, but you barely put anything in you at all. And it's like very confusing at first. You're like, it's like unbelievable, but
right.
That's just to show like how different like eating food that's empty is versus eating food that is really rich with all these minerals. So I like to do it like a balanced kind of thing, focus on like the herbs, and like you kind of need that because we're not growing our own food, we're relying on everyone else. So that's a good way to supplement, to give you what your body needs. And then, all the other food is to make sure you're not messing up, basically. Make sure you're not like harming or damaging yourself. It's like a funny concept. A lot of people say, it's if you're sick, then, or if it's cold or something, you have to eat a lot of food. And if you don't eat a lot of food, you're going to stay sick. But then there's people, and a lot of people online, even you can see testimonials where people go on a fast or they stop eating for a little bit, and then they feel amazing, and they do the opposite, they get better. And I think that kind of just speaks to how a lot of the food is not the healthiest. So it's kind of like, there's always better and best, and trying to always find like that best option when you're eating food. Just to not, if you're doing one thing good, you don't want to be doing something else that's like pulling you back down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing I found is it's just, sometimes eating clean, isn't the cheapest option, and it's definitely, at least in my experience, it seems to never be the best tasting alternative. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
Every time I've tried to eat clean and eat better, it's way overpriced and it doesn't taste as good. And so that's the struggle that I play with is it's like, well, I know several people here in the South, and again, I'm not basically advocating, hey, go do this, but, if you look back in the 50s and 60s, I have great-great-grandparents who all they ever knew back in the day, they kept the whole pot of grease in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And they cooked with it every single day,
mm-hmm.
And then those people, they died when they were like I had several relatives who lived literally to be almost 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And now you see people falling off at, it seems like in their late 60s, early 70s, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like, obviously our bodies adapt over time, but it's, I play with this battle of, I think, in my opinion, there's a middle ground. And by middle, I mean, I would never want to be someone who's so like healthy eating conscious that they can't ever enjoy themselves. And you know what I mean? Like,
yes, yeah.
Because I do believe in, people, we joke all the time where if I'm eating French fries, people are like, man, you're going to die eating those fries. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to be happy as I die eating these.
Yeah, all the time. I got friends to say that too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just, I don't know. I find myself, at least since I moved to Atlanta, like when we go to try to shop Whole Foods and eat all these healthy alternatives, because my fiance, she's definitely way more of a health kind of fanatic than I am, and always trying to push me to eat better. But I just find that everything that we go and pay for or prep, it doesn't taste good. It tastes like crap. And I'm like, I don't want to eat this. You know, I'm not going to eat rice cakes so that I can hope to live that I'm 99. I could get in a car wreck tomorrow. Like, I want to sit here and have my steak and potatoes, and, you know, if I die tomorrow, I die tomorrow.
Yeah, and then you end up paying an arm and a leg for something you don't even like the taste of.
Exactly, and I would just be honest, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone listens to this and go, hey, I have a solution for you. But to this day, I am a firm believer. I cannot say that I've ever chosen a healthier alternative that I was like, wow, I actually love eating that. You know, I can sit here and lie to you, and I could say, yeah, it's okay, it's tolerable.
Yeah,
I can do it for a little while, but truly, I've yet to find one thing that I actually, you know, I'm like, I'm eating this because I actually love it and I know it's better for my body. I've just yet to come across it.
And I absolutely love that you said that, because that's something that almost nobody addresses, but it's so true. And 100%, you're correct. But I think I might be able to blow your mind on this one.
That's good. I hope you can open my eyes, because trust me, I definitely want to improve. But every time I tried this journey for a week, you know, I'm like, I'm not happy with the food I'm eating. Like, so then I go back to, I'm like, you know what? I just want to order a freaking pizza because this sucks. And it's almost like the whole headspace of, you know, I've given it 2 weeks of eating unhappy food. I'm starving, literally, is what my mind's telling me, like, for things that I'm craving. And I'm sitting here, and so what we want is we want a quick fix. So I'm like, I'm looking at the mirror. I don't see a difference. I don't feel a difference in this 14-day period in my mind that I think I should have. So what happens is,
why do it? Yeah, why do it? Yeah.
You know, you go back.
Yep. So it's definitely a couple of things. Like, you know, it normally is like multiple factors that affect something. But to just kind of go through them, right? When you're eating something and you stop, so of course, it's always good to take a break from something every now and then if you know it might not be the healthiest thing for you. Right. And the one thing that does happen is your taste buds will reset. Your body, again, is very, you know, it adapts very easily. So, you know, on the one hand, a lot of people that are used to eating, let's say, for example, food that's high in sugar, you know, but it's processed sugar. So it's not natural sugar from like fruits that are from nature or tropical fruits, etc. That would be actually great. And just because I'm on the topic, I don't want to forget this point. You know, sugar, everyone demonizes it, but it's not necessarily the enemy, which almost nobody really says that, because, you know, science does tell us that sugar is a nutrient for the brain, for the mind to develop and to grow. So organic, like natural, real sugar from like healthy food, that's in balance, because everything has to be like in balance, you know, with the minerals that are also in that fruit. That actually would be a good thing for us to have. And of course, it's going to be different amounts for different people. Again, some people, like myself, I could eat a lot of fruits and I feel fine, I feel great, but not everybody could eat as much, you know, as I eat. Some people, I know, like yourself, you mentioned, you know, you like eating more meats, and, you know, meat in and of itself has a more savory kind of taste. So we should always listen to our body and see like what our tongue is telling us, because that is information that's, you know, unique to every individual. So, right. You know, if you're going after that food, you know, that's your body craving that food. There's something in it that your body wants more of to help grow and develop and survive. So, but going back to the whole processed sugar, because we almost never separate, you know, processed from natural. That processed sugar, of course, is so hyper. So then our taste buds completely change, and then now everything else tastes bland. You know, if you go from drinking soda every day to drink water, you'll think water completely tastes like nothing. But then if you stop drinking soda after a certain point, you'll realize, oh, water does taste different, you know, this versus that. You know, you could begin to like taste the subtle, you know. So it's amazing like how that, like, your body can reset its taste buds on the one hand. And then if you want to look at it, you know, when you go back to eating your favorite food, that taste, you know, is going to be a little more heightened just because of it too. There's that. But then also, like, in regards to the main topic, you know, like, how do you get, you know, why spend an arm and a leg for healthy food that doesn't even taste good? So, you know, I kind of addressed like the sugar aspect of it. You you can't really compete with the hyper sugar. That's for sure. The only way to kind of get over, like if it's a sugar thing like that, you just have to like detox your body, like stay away from it. And then at a certain point, introduce natural shit like watermelon or something, you know what I mean? And you'll be amazed at like how amazing something as simple as watermelon could taste after you step away from all the processed sugars.
Awesome.
But then now for like all the other, dinner, for example, right? The thing that's amazing is that like, again, like our body, like you should be craving it. Like you should know right away that you're doing something and like it's good. Like you should be doing it. We shouldn't be thinking like, why am I even doing this? And, like that shouldn't really be an issue. But of course it is for everybody, just about. And the amazing thing, the reason why I say that is because your taste buds, when we taste food, the only thing we're really tasting in food besides sugar is the minerals, right? Minerals is what we're tasting in food. Gatorade calls it electrolytes. There's different names for it. But, that's really what we're tasting. There's nothing really else in there but that. So when you're eating, say, a boring salad, for example, it's not really going to taste like much. And, of course it's not, because it wasn't really grown in amazing soil. And most of those, like, salad greens are empty. It's just mostly water. And there's again, better and best, and there's much better food. Like, for example, like besides those like supplements that, you put under the tongue, like as a tincture, just, if you ever get to cook at home, but also when you go out to restaurants, restaurants, especially 5-star restaurants, usually have like a full array of, ingredients they have access to. And it's, most people don't think about it, but you can easily customize anything you want on that menu. Most chefs are very flexible. You could tell them, you want to specifically put this or put that, and that's going to give you a boost. And the thing is, like when you're using, say, herbs when you're cooking, culinary herbs for flavor, that's how you marinate chicken or just give flavor to food, right? You have to use herbs to cook with. Those herbs are probably the healthiest thing that you're actually eating. Even though it's like, a little bit does go a long way, even if it's a small amount. The basics, your thyme, your rosemary, etc. Like they have amazing, like health benefits to the body, cleaning the blood, etc. But, we usually don't think in terms of that. But so I could easily make the argument that like the healthiest food is the food that tastes the best, because the healthiest food has to be the food with the highest amount of minerals. And the highest amount of minerals, that's what we're tasting. That's the only thing we taste with our taste buds.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff you never hear about before, a majority of it,
Yeah. It's this whole other way of looking at it. And I think like, what I really want to leave you with today is like this new framework to make better informed decisions going forward, no matter what situation. Like I said, at the restaurant or in the grocery store, I think it's so important to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And again, a little bit goes a long way, and a lot of it comes from those herbs. And herbs are vegetables, and everyone knows you should be eating your vegetables every day.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I definitely have been a little bit more conscious, for sure, in my vegetable intake as I've gotten older.
And I want to be mindful of your time, too. I know we could definitely keep on going, but I know it's coming on 1 o'clock, so it's been almost an hour we were on the phone together. Definitely I'm going to reach out to you again. I'll give you a text message, and, we'll definitely be in touch, I think.
Awesome, brother. Well, yeah, I appreciate your time as well, and obviously the valuable information that you've given here, and I can't wait to connect a little bit later.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for today. I appreciate you sharing everything and, giving us a little insight into your life. So I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Awesome, brother. Well, yeah, let's stay in touch, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Take care now.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
You too, buddy. See ya.